Cable Oversight Committee, November 21st, 2022. I'm going to open the meeting at 7:02. And with that being said, I'm going to share my screen for 1 second.
Did recording start?
Recording has started. Bob, they told me you can see my screen?
Yep, I can.
Good evening. This meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of July 17th, 2022. The order can be found on the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that the attendees are participating via video conference. Please be aware that others may be able to see you. Please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait for the chair to yield the floor to you. If members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair. The chair will now confirm that all members are present and that they can be heard.
Bob DeToma?
Here.
Corson?
Here.
Bob H?
I'm here.
And Bob Berger is also here. Okay, great. Mr. DeToma, is there any public input today?
We have one guest who is viewing, I believe, but has not
Raised their hand.
raised hand. No.
Okay, so we're going to jump right to item 2, which is the treasurer's report.
Okay, the saga of the treasurer's report continues. The reports were sent out this afternoon. I'm hoping everybody's had a chance to look at them. The information that we all want to see is still not available to us. Hopefully it'll be in December. I believe the individual detailed line items are being loaded into the new system.
Are being what?
They're being loaded into the new Vadar system. So we were able to get the numbers that you see at the bottom of the report, which shows the expenditures and the balance for the cable fund. And also attached in that email this afternoon was the documentation that Cindy Ide sends, including the newest Charter and Verizon payments.
Are there any questions for the treasurer?
Have you been watching the quarterly revenues that you just mentioned? I don't have really up-to-date numbers anymore because I've missed too many of the mailings, but I have the sense that it reflects, what I talk about being down, trending down, and I want us to keep an eye on that.
I can go back and recover the reports from Cindy and then take a look at that, see if the numbers are going down dramatically or gradually.
Well, I can tell you right now, just looking at Bob's report, that the numbers are really not going down as drastic as Mr. H, you think. For our income for the year, we bring in about 360 to 380,000. If I'm not mistaken, Bob for a quarter just brought in 70-something thousand dollars. So that's really on track of keeping our budget where we anticipated it would be at the end of the year.
Well, it's not exactly the budget from my point of view. It's the revenue, the 5% revenue.
Yeah. And let the record show that Mr. Gallagher did come into the meeting at 7:07. Mr. Gallagher, can you hear us? Please unmute your microphone. I don't read lips.
I know it. There.
There you
I
go.
had some problems with my laptop. My apologies for being late.
That's fine. That's fine. All right. So, Mr. H, did we address your concerns with the treasurer's report?
Well, I'd like to track, I'd like us to be able to track that bottom line as we go along.
Okay. All right. On that minute, on that, we're going to move to item 3. Minutes. Now, I have on here, there's no action needed because our September meeting was canceled. So we have no minutes to approve.
Well, we do. We have September's.
You're right.
About October.
That's right. Okay. So I did, Corson, I did read your minutes. I hope everybody took some time and read the novel. So Corson, when you take minutes, really we want a reflection of like a synopsis of the meeting. I don't think you have to get into it as much detail as you did. You did a fine job, but I don't think we need that much detail. And that's just what I've seen in other committees. So with that being said, do I have a motion on the minutes?
Move to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion on that motion?
Well, the only thing I'd like to just jump in and agree with the chairman. I got lost a few times, and then when you were making additional explanations in case someone else was reading them, while that was well intentioned, I don't think that should be part of the minutes. So just bullet prints, I think, are all we really need. That was all I wanted to say.
I don't think it hurts to have reasonable detail, but I didn't look. I did notice there was a good bit more content. It didn't bother me one way or the other. Everything is available to the public anyway through these recordings that we're making, so it's not like you're putting stuff out that you don't want to put out. I would say just reporting, though, not personal view.
But I agree with that. So, Corson, just slim it down just a little bit for the next month. With that being said, are there any more discussion on minutes? I will take a motion, Mr. Ditoma. I will take a vote, Mr. Ditoma, I'm sorry.
Okay, yes, aye.
Mr. H?
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher?
Gallagher, aye.
Mr. Wyman?
Aye.
Berger, aye. Motion carries. Okay, let's move to item 4 on the agenda. And that, again, we're going to go to Mr. Ditoma, and that's the quality of the live town meeting production. Mr. Ditoma, the floor is yours.
So you listed it as re-review? meaning-
Yeah, that might have been a typographical error.
Okay. So I think we may have spoken about this once before, but if not, I'll start again. The testing the Friday before that town meeting took place passed with flying colors. We had full audio and video capabilities. The night of the meeting, we lost or never had audio right from the get-go. And when the flurry of emails and text messages began, Mr. Berger and I ran around trying to find the high school staff representative. And we made more than one trip down to the TV studio, which is a hike for someone my age. I don't know about Bob, but we ran down the hallway and then back again, and in hopes of resolving the issue. The bottom line is that the TV studio at the high school has always been and probably will be the weak link. And any one of the settings, either in that room, in their TV studio on their new switcher, by the way, is where a problem can erupt. When the staff member from the school went down there, he was on the phone with someone getting assistance. I don't know if it was a support team member or somebody who works at the school, but they finally realized that there was an issue on the switcher itself. But that only resolved one issue, and that was it brought audio into the broadcast, but then as we were listening on the live streaming, it was sounding like it had been distorted in outer space. So he ran back out again, and I believe he went to the server room the second time, if I am not mistaken, and finally resolved the issue. After that event took place, I reached out to Danielle from Oakers looking for a resolution, and we had recently done a live event from the library using the new piece of equipment that talks to the server, and that took place successfully. The program was transmitted live via the internet over the public channel, and it was recorded for future playback, proving that this device can help us at the spring town meeting. So I spoke to the gentleman at the high school who confirmed that we have a solid internet connection in the auditorium in the lighting booth at the top of the room. And so Danielle and I, when we can set up a time to gain access to the auditorium, we'll do a live test with the new equipment, and then that should solve our problem once and for all, because the signal will go to us directly with no other stops along the way. And one other side note to be aware of is that the gentleman who was working the room that night and who was working the audio board no longer works for the school department. And I have no idea who his replacement is, so I'm still efforting to find out who that is so that we can develop a relationship. I think that covers everything.
Go ahead, Bob.
You spoke of a solid internet connection in the booth. Is that a hardwired connection? Okay, that's good. Now, how do you, I'm not sure whether we're sending the same kind of signal down to the studio. I think that's, I'm not sure. I'm not, what I'm trying to get back to is, I think all of the camera ports around the auditorium come back and should be accessible in the booth. So if we had a switcher, small switcher, we could switch the show up there, and we could put the interpreter, the sign language up here in the corner, or put something down there, or have more than one camera just looking at different places in the show. There's a bit more to it because, things like no power out there, but it's some of the camera positions. But that would open up a lot of possibilities. And I'd like us to be, from time to time, we talk about a field production tool of, whatever, portable switcher, probably audio thing. I just
Agreed. I mean, for the years that we've been talking about a studio in the box, and this probably goes way back to when Rick was alive.
a lot more than that.
Yeah, but the cost continues. The cost essentially continues to go down. Some of the equipment that I've looked at that Danielle has highlighted and sent to me, I mean, some of them are as simple as a touch screen, like an iPad device, and that's essentially your switcher. So yeah, coming up pretty quickly, we can make a decision to purchase a piece of equipment, and Danielle can easily show us how to integrate it into the new device so that it will talk directly back to the server at the TV studio.
Yeah, you'll find, I think you'll find the getting all the right wires to go the right places is the challenge.
Well, with that being said, right, wait a minute. With that being said, our main goal is to, I think, move the camera to that mezzanine where that control room is. I know, Bob, I know. But the problem with doing that is we've got to get the sound feed into the camera, which is located down. Everybody stop shaking their heads, is down where the camera is fed right now. But if we keep the camera there, then we have to take a Cat5 cable and get it down to where the camera is. So we've got a problem of either getting the Cat5 down to where Bob wants to be, or getting the, what is that, BNC connector? Is that what you called it, Bob?
XLR.
The XLR up to the mezzanine. So there is going to be some hardware or some cabling that needs to be done before the Springtown meeting, either down or up. Don't know which one we're going to go with, but I think that Cable Oversight Committee is going to be footing that bill, because we've been saying for 15 years, we're not going to pay. But if we want to get a good production to get out of that control room and get away from the school department's technology, then we need to do this, right?
I looked at this a lot. It's been long enough that I've forgotten exactly what we have, but we have camera feeds. We have feeds that can carry the video from every camera position, and there's like 10 or 12 positions in the hall, right? Back to the booth. And the audio, I think, also goes through, all the audio lines, I think, go through the booth. So what you want to do is to pick up feeds from wherever you want to feed from there and plug them into a switcher like you do in the studio. I always thought that the first, you want to have a camera that sees a stage. I would have a camera at the top, at the booth level, over as you face the stage, over on the left-hand side.
Stage left?
No, stage right. Audience left. There's a, up there, you come out of the booth and you walk around, I think. Yeah. Well, there's a walkway behind, sort of decoration columns on both sides.
Yeah.
Upways. It's on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over on audience left, stage right. The second place is a camera someplace that can look at the audience so we can see people talking. And I think the current position is the likely one for that. Although
No,
we want to find
no.
two possibilities so that you could send the camera on the interpreter too.
Well, we're going to have a camera on the interpreter, and then where the flag is, you're going to have a camera facing the audience.
All right. I figured there was a connection on that side, but I don't remember, offhand.
Right. But now we're into item 5, because we just floated right down into a discussion on hiring an engineer for on-site support. But that is also incorporating Danielle for this post-production, because we have to figure out how we're going to make this device work. So does this committee have a problem with us hiring Okers to get us in a better position so we can get out of using the school department's technology? That's the discussion I'd like to have now.
Yeah, well, we used to be able to do it ourselves. I'd like to be involved in it.
You could be involved in it, but we're not doing it ourselves, because I'm not doing it. It's way over my head.
Well, I got that.
Okay.
We have had people over whom's head it was not.
We don't now, and that's why I want to hire the professionals.
I'm not here anymore.
Mr. Chairman, could you just elaborate what you mean by Okers?
That is the camera store. Okers is now the camera store.
Okay.
Well, the camera store is now Oakers,
Yeah, same difference.
camera company.
Yep.
Um,
So this is the discussion that we're having, and we always have this discussion, and it never goes anywhere. But I think we need to act on it now because I
Well,
want
let's
to get.
just do it. Let's just do it and see if it's worthwhile. Because now we have no point of reference, because all we can do is say, well, you know, we used to do different things before when we had different.
I got it,
technology.
Jim. Just let it go.
Pardon me?
Everybody has to act cordially, please, because we're having an open discussion.
What the hell was that about, Bob?
I don't know.
All I'm
You just
saying,
said I don't know what I'm doing.
No,
I
we
didn't-
never said that. We
oh
never
yeah,
said that.
paranoia
We
strikes
got to
me.
go do something else.
No, here's what I'm saying is that we've tried other things before. Let's try this. And then we can come to have a discussion where we have known factors, because now we have a point of reference. That's all I'm saying. No one said anything about you, Bob.
Yes, you did.
No, he did not. And
No, I didn't. And that's just paranoia. So cut it out.
I'm done.
so,
I'm done.
you know, go ahead. I'm listening. Oh, he said he was done. Okay. So now do we get a motion on bringing in Okers? And do we have a dollar amount, or are we just bringing in Okers? Mr. Datoma?
So now that I've heard all this input. I said, now that I have heard all this input, what audio issues is Okers going to resolve? That's the part that I think needs to be clarified.
Okay, so it's really not an audio issue. It's getting audio into your camera where we're placing it. So if we place the camera where it's always been, we need to run a Cat5 cable from up above down. And I don't like that idea. I'd like to get the audio plugged into the camera up in the mezzanine, and I think that's where we need Okers.
So I believe that we should take baby steps before we start running. We have to confirm that there is the internet connection in the studio. I want to see it. I don't want to just go on someone's word. And then
In where? In the booth.
in the lighting booth above the auditorium, that's
Right.
where the internet connection is supposed to.
That's a question to ask, not
Right. So we need to
go forward with.
Right.
The question, my question would be, all those things that I said, run the cameras from the different places, bring the audio up, plug it into something in the booth. That's the set of questions that I think we're looking for. If that's possible, how much would it cost?
Right. So when we get access to the high school, which we have to get permission, obviously, we don't just waltz in. When we get access to the high school, Danielle has agreed to come along and witness everything and make sure that everything is working properly with this new piece of equipment. And if we find hurdles that we have to overcome, then yes, by all means, Okers would be the people I would trust to help us do that. As the system operates now that I've seen how the system operates based on the performance out of the library conference room, I don't think it's a lot of heavy lifting. Now,
You don't think you're,
it's not a lot of heavy lifting based on the technology, the way I understand it now. If we're just talking about trying to find connections within the room that will make it easier for us to place the camera and shorter runs of cable and shorter runs of XLR, by all means. But until we physically get in the room, we're just basically spinning our wheels. So do we need someone like this? At this point in time, I'm not certain we do, but we may further down the road. But I'd really like to get in the room and actually see what we're looking at.
and
Right.
and I think
I got you, Jim, in a minute.
getting someone, but being able to be there also would be helpful. But that's not the whole audio problem. The other part of the audio problem is the guy sitting at the mixer in the middle of the room, and his responsibility. That's where a lot of the sound problems at town meeting were, other than what didn't go out on the network.
And that is part, and that, hold on, and that's still part of item 5 is I want to hire an audio engineer to be on site that sit at that board for town meeting.
That's the school department's
I don't
responsibility.
care. I really don't care. I think that this is our only performance that the entire town may be watching. And every year we have a problem with the person sitting at that board. Maybe maybe they're not as comfortable. Maybe they just got thrown into that chair. But I think that we need to hire an audio engineer that knows that board, that can make it sing and dance.
Let's talk to the town administrator and the appropriate person in the
I know.
schools to see
And
how
they won't spend the money. So
yeah, no.
I'd like to get a motion on the floor.
Are they even willing to have us do that? Could you bring a foreigner into the school?
I don't think that I don't think they'd have a problem with that. But I can ask. But I would like to get a motion that for our spring town meeting that we.
Corson want to talk.
Oh, go
Well,
ahead.
so do I. So.
Oh yeah, hold on,
I'll let you,
everybody.
Jim,
hold on.
Go first. Go
Everybody, stop. Jim, go ahead.
All right. First off, I liked it better when I was chairman because I could just blurt out whenever I wanted to. But secondly, is the move up to the mezzanine, is that a fait accompli?
No, it's part of a proposed possibility.
So I'm wondering how much of all of this discussion is relevant if we don't have an actual plan to move to the mezzanine.
That discussion is now over because Bob is going to have Danielle go up to the mezzanine and take a look at it with him. So we're hoping that we'll have another discussion after they have that meeting. Do we need to do any lifting to get the camera up there? Or do we have to do any lifting to have the camera stay down and run a cable either way? One way or another, there's a cable that needs to be run.
God,
I don't know what that was all about, but
it doesn't fit with what's the actual situation and what's needed. The only reason we have that audio line that you were worried about is because we're taking the house mix and sending it down to the camera. If you have a mixer up in the booth, there's got to be there's got to be house audio there. We're currently sending it down to where the camera currently is to plug into the camera because we're just doing it a simple one camera shoot.
and if we are,
Just let me help, there and show. Maybe I'll be all wrong, but I did go through all of this when the school was being built, and after when we started into it. So and I was involved in a lot of the trying to fix things.
so Jim, to answer your question, right, is if we don't put a mixer in there and we go with a one camera shoot, then their wire has to be run. Okay. But and I think that's what's going to happen for this next town meeting, because we're not going to have enough time to do everything that Mr. Hassinger wants to do. No, I'm not going to recognize you, Bob, right now, because I have somebody else that wants to talk, and then we're going to move on. But the Toma is going to get Danielle and he's going to report back to us. Item 5 is something different. But before we get into item 5, let's let Corson say his piece. Then I'll get back to you, Bob.
Okay. So the thing is that the switcher itself, the mixing board, basically is the school's property, and the notion is that that they, from what I could determine from this, is that they basically, because it's their property, they're responsible for it, and they don't necessarily just want anybody coming in and using it. They've got their own agenda as to the use of that piece of equipment. I understand, Mr. Berger, that you'd like to have someone else in there who could do a better job than what the school individuals are doing. But I still think you should at least get some sort of approval from the school to be able to take and use their equipment. The only other solution would be to double up on every microphone that's out there, and I don't think you want to go that route. That would be, a waste of all resources. It would be nice to have mixed audio very well from that soundboard. And I think we should try and go that way, but I think we have to go through the proper channels of getting the permission necessary to be able to do that. I don't think you want to step on anybody's toes, because then we'll be even further hot water on it.
I agree.
The other thing to make note is that I think that the whole part about with going back to the booth and the audio feed, I think if we clear up the issue with the audio, we'll be fine with that. The multiple camera shots or camera shoots we do with the cabling, the idea of having audio going directly to a camera and so forth, that may be fine if you just have a single camera, but you're going to have multiple cameras in this. There's no question about that. And so usually when you have multiple cameras, audio and video are very much separate from one another. They very, very much are operating independently of one another and are controlled by two individuals, one person handling audio, one person handling video. And you have this camaraderie of the two blending together for your program. And I think that if you concentrate more on that part of it, I think it might go smoother. Daniel will certainly help out, I would think. But as far as just saying, starting from scratch, throwing somebody in there and think you get a different result, they're going to have to learn all that stuff all over, just like anybody else would. It was seeing it for the first time. And I think if we have some knowledge to some degree that we work with, we might be able to work through it. But if we actually need the bodies or the help, then we have to have it. But I still think we need that permission. I'll keep quiet.
Yeah,
I agree.
Can I just get a clarification, Bob?
Yes.
Is the second camera just for the sign language person?
Yes.
So why do we need audio?
You don't. You don't need audio for the interpreter. Absolutely not. Bob H is talking about like a 3-camera shoot, so we can get somebody from where the flag is to the audience, so we can grab their faces. But that's in the future. That's not what we're going to do. I'm envisioning for our Springtown meeting, because we're not going to have time to purchase all that equipment and put it in place.
we can find out what we're talking about, and we might not, but it would help steer what direction we go in. But question, somebody's deciding they don't want to have the camera where it is now, and they want to put it in the back of the hall. And I don't think so, because I think it's important to see the people who are speaking to the meeting, and just as much as it is to see the selectmen and the moderator. My opinion.
I agree.
Right. And but guys, what is driving this conversation is the internet connection's the weak link. And you can only go like 250 feet with a Cat 5. I don't know how far we can go with the wire that's up there to get it down to where Bob is.
I don't know.
That's going to be, you know what? We're going to stop. We're just going to stop this conversation now, because I want Bob DeToma to come back at our next meeting and tell us what he and Danielle discovered, because it's not going anywhere except in circles. And I'm done with this topic, other than I will also come back next month after I talk to the school department to see if they will let us hire an audio engineer to work the switcher. Okay. So item 5 is now done. And we're moving on. All right. We're going to item 6. Item 6 is, I really think on the programs that we offer for closed caption, on the initial shot, where it says, select board or finance committee, we should have Bill or Bob write, this program is closed caption provided by Grafton Cable Oversight Committee. I think we should notify the audience that we're doing that. And I'd like to have a discussion on that.
I don't see why that's an issue at all. I think that's just an automatic thing.
Yeah, I don't know where you're saying. Are you talking about the live feed to the cable systems? Or are you talking about the feed going through the internet now
No,
over the web? Or are you talking about what we record?
I got you, Bob DeToma. Bob DeToma, can you answer that question?
When we do a live event, planning board or select board or town meeting, 10 minutes before the program, the switch takes place, and before the meeting goes live, that 10-minute window of dead air, there's a slate or a graphic that says coming up next, planning board, coming up next, select board. That's where Mr. Berger wants to put the graphic. And it's very easy to do because Bill just creates the graphic in the booth when the program is preparing to go live. That's why the booth operator shows up, an hour, 45 minutes before any meeting begins, so he can create the graphics that are required. So this is not a heavy lift. We can do this without any problem.
I don't think it needs a committee vote.
I agree.
I didn't ask for a committee vote. I just asked for having a discussion.
The suggestion is that we've had enough discussion, I guess.
Okay. So item 6 is done. Item 7 is Bob DeToma one more time.
Spectrum audio. How is that settled? 7?
Yeah, Spectrum 7, item 7. The status on Spectrum already. You know what? I have a problem with talking tonight, but just bear with me. Audio quality, channels 191, 192, and 194.
You ready?
I am ready, Bob. Take over.
By my records, Charter Spectrum has been in the main studio 4 times. And they have run diagnostics on all of their equipment in the server room. And Danielle has been in studio and at least 3 times and has run diagnostics on the server equipment that they installed for Cablecast Tightrope. And each of them has determined that the issue is not coming from the studio. Charter wants to listen to programming that goes live out of the head end on Potter Hill Road. But we can never seem to get qualified technicians in the facility at Potter Hill when we're doing a live broadcast, being planning board or select board, so that they can hear it from their end. Many of the visits, the technician walks in and says, well, we were just up the head end and we didn't hear anything, which is, basically a throwaway statement in my book. And then when we go in to the main control room in the new studio, and listen to the return feed on the cable box, start on the government channel and work your way down to the education channel, and all 3 will display the popping noise. It might take 10 minutes before we hear it, and sometimes it takes 10 seconds. We walk in the door and turn on the box, and bang, there's the noise. So at this point, where we have 2 people technically qualified, or 2 entities technically qualified, telling us that they can't find the problem, based on what Danielle has told me, that when you have a noise such as we're experiencing and it goes across all 3 channels, there's only 2 places in town that those 3 channels meet up: in the main studio and at the top of Potter Hill. So Mr. Berger believes that it's now time to escalate this to Attorney August and see if he can get involved and push some buttons.
Go ahead, Clausen.
Has this sound issue been recorded
Oh, yeah.
for playback to them so they've been able to review it?
They have heard the sound, and when they come into the studio and we go into the main control booth, they can hear it on the live playback on the cable box. Now, at first, the complaints came in from viewers at home and said, well, it's, I can hear it on planning board, or no, I can hear it on select board. And And we thought, well, gee, maybe it's only live broadcasts. But then when the technicians came in and we listened to the return feed on the box, we realized it was coming across when the bulletin board plays, when public programming plays. It's coming through no matter what. There are days when it's so bad it sounds like a machine gun, and then there are other days where it sounds like somebody's popping bubble wrap. But it is coming across all three channels, and it hasn't gone away completely, but it's now quite intermittent. It's still there.
That's good news, because you don't have to necessarily wait until you have a live event going on. You can reproduce, you have a much more opportunity to reproduce the problem for looking for it. I think technically we might want to ask the town administrator for an okay to talk to August, because it's a question of license enforcement, and that's the select board, or yes, the select board's responsibility. Just touch base, but yeah, I say go ahead and do what you can do. I think the committee would support recommending action, serious action if necessary.
Do we need a vote on that, Mr. H?
I don't think at this point.
Okay.
If Evan wants one, we can have it. Or if we get to a point, okay, Bill just calls and talks and whatnot. Okay, we get to where we got to push something, then we have to go through it. We make a recommendation. The folks up at town hall.
So
go ahead with with doing what they need to do.
Mr. DeToma, can you reach out to the town administrator and inform him that you want to talk to our special counsel about this issue?
And whether or not we need to get the select board and the cable committee involved. And
No, what I think you're going to do is ask him if you can contact Bill August and have Bill start a conversation with Tom, and then we're going to take it from there.
okay.
Yeah.
While I'm in there talking to the town administrator, do you want me to bring up the issue about the audio board at the high school, or are you going to hold on to that?
I wasn't going to bring it to him. I was going to bring that to Jay or Tony LeMay, because it's their property.
Why not tell them what's going on?
You can inform them that I'm going to talk to Jay and I'm going to talk to Tony about, the next meeting. We want to hire a professional engineer to sit at that board and see what he says.
Because I know after the town meeting, I spoke to him about the audio. Of course, there was the audio in the hall.
Yeah.
Of course, that wasn't any secret to him, but he knew that, at least I was complaining, and since then, there's been lots of complaint about it.
Okay.
So, he'll be aware that it's an issue and that he'd probably be interested in us.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item? With none being
I'm
heard.
wondering if there's any access activity report that might be out there.
Yeah, that's the next item.
Oh, what a coincidence.
What a coincidence, yes. But, well, okay, we'll see.
Go ahead, Bob.
All right, so we continue to produce bus stop weather on a weekly basis. We're not doing anything this week because of the short week, but we'll resume that next when we return on the 28th. Bridget Kaya has been doing a community calendar that she calls Get Out Grafton, which she finds 3 or 4 items in town, events in town that people should be interested in and going out to visit. So we continue to do that program. And Bill continues to have immense success with the bands that he has developed relationships with from Concerts on the Common. He continues to have, I believe he's up to like 5 or 6 episodes of the jazz band coming into the studio. And the last 3 or 4 visits when they have come in to record a session, they have brought guest performers with them. So that's been immensely successful, and I'm really proud of the work he's done on that. He's also, 10 days ago, we had one of the rock bands from concerts on the Common this summer, the Holding Back Band, and they basically do 60s and 70s hits. And they came in recently and recorded a session, and Bill is currently in the process of editing out that program. So all of these are playing on the public channel, and they're all displayed on the YouTube channel. And then tomorrow, possibly Wednesday, we're going to do a live promo for the annual Christmas open house, and Grafton celebrates the holiday. So we're just wrapping up something we think will be humorous to put on screen. And that covers everything in the access report.
Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
All right, thank you. This is, I don't think it's anything we've ever done before, but I just want to throw something out here. On December 2nd, Grafton football is going to play for the state championship at Gillette Stadium on Friday night. And I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do to see if we can pick up part of the feed. I'm understanding that it's either going to be Comcast or it's going to be Nesson that will be broadcasting that. Is there any way possible that we could pick up that feed for our people in town?
It's funny that you asked that, because I received an email this afternoon from an employee of the Craft Sports Entertainment Group. And essentially the email detailed where residents could see the programming, whether it was on their local cable provider or through their Apple Fire or their Roku device or any of the other devices that people have in their homes. None of the links or information reference us picking up a live feed. The only way that I could see that we could get a live feed out of Gillette Stadium would be to carry that piece of equipment I talked about earlier and bring it down there and hopefully get an internet connection. But
I don't think they'll let you do that.
I'm not sure if Craft Group, controls the rights to broadcast or not. So I'm not quite sure how they feel about that.
Yeah, those usually have a disclaimer about this is for the personal use of individuals, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. That there's, well, if you find something, super. Finding it and getting it out in time for everybody to see, know about it, good, try for it.
I'll give the woman a call tomorrow and see. I know that one of the other options was, a recorded playback, but live feed was not one of the options.
Okay, I had two quick questions. The bus stop weather. I usually don't look at it, but I look at the whatever you call it, the image that comes around in the YouTube. And there I saw it looked like at least a couple were done outdoors.
Yeah.
And I was just curious about that.
It was just a beautiful day, and I asked the girls if they wanted to go outside, and they said yes, and that's why. And then the very next day, it was 32 degrees. So,
yeah. Where did you do that?
Right outside the main entrance.
Oh yeah, because I didn't recognize it. There were too many trees. I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, the camera angle was looking past the main entrance and up the hill toward the municipal center.
I thought that was nice. Well, did you use studio camera then?
Yeah, no, one of the portable cameras.
Okay. And what was the other thing I knew? You can't remember two things. Oh, the gazebo. It's not a bandstand. The gazebo is pretty much done now. Has anyone checked, or has there been any going on with that to be sure that we have our ability to do live connection?
Funny you should ask. There was an email today or the day before that had gone back and forth between Paul Scarlett, and I believe Paul Kernoyer, and our friend whose name escapes me from Comtrex. And they were sharing information back and forth on the connection to the Common and how it was going to proceed. And so, yeah, they're all over it, and they've kept me in the loop. So it's looking good, Bob. So
okay. That's been an adventure over the years.
Is that it, Mr. Tatoma?
I think so.
Okay. So item 9 on the agenda. We really should try to set a policy for closed caption for the programming. The reason why I say that is we don't have enough money to do every show or every production that we produce for Grafton TV. And, you know, we're going to be doing 4 or 5 committees. So in order to stay on the up and up, I think we should give something to the select board so they can vote on a policy that's going to say something like, these are the meetings that are going to be included with closed caption. And if somebody would like to request a special accommodations, please contact the select board within 10 days of the meeting, and we will, you know, turn it on, or whatever words we put in there. But we really should have something in place, because if we don't, then, you know, somebody that is, that wants something and we say no, then are we putting ourselves in jeopardy? I mean, is it really up to Bob Tatoma to decide which button he turns on these programs? I don't think so. I think it's up to the select board for them to tell us which ones that they want to have turned on. That's why I want to try to develop a policy to give to them so they can adopt it. And I want this board to do that. Go ahead.
Sounds like a good idea. So moved.
Okay. So I have.
I don't have a second.
No, you did. Jim seconded it.
Oh.
Any discussion? No discussion. With that being said, Bob Tatoma.
Aye.
Mr. Corson.
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher.
Gallagher, aye.
Mr. H.
Aye.
Bob Berger. Aye. I clear that carried. Okay, that's great. I will work on something and I will report back for this committee next month for a review. Let's go right back into the agenda, item 10. And Corson, you've got these next 2 items. I really don't know where you're going with it, but you requested to put it on the agenda and I have it. The floor is
Okay.
all yours for the next 2 items.
Okay. I'll keep it very brief.
I doubt that.
Come on, let's be more positive about things, please. All right.
He's
The thing
positive
about
you are or not.
the thing about the bug, in particular, this thing, basically it's a photograph, and when you look at a photograph that's shrunk down into a small thing that sits in the corner of the screen, it's very hard to make out all the details within it unless you know what you're really looking at. What I'm thinking is that the concept of having the gazebo or bandstand, whatever you want to call it, I know that that it's something that's dear to hearts to everybody to have that, and I think it's a great symbol. But I think it could be cleaned up basically as a piece of artwork that would have the outline or shape of what would be of the bandstand. So in other words, a redesign of the bug so that it stands out and it's more pronounced and more recognizable than something that is just kind of a blur based on the fact it's a photograph. I started with the process of trying to redesign it, try to draw it up, but I had trouble with the software I was using, and I'm just not very good doing stuff the newer way on a computer. I'm more on a drafting board. But the point is that it would look better if it was an actual graphic as opposed to a photograph that is being used as a graphic. That's my take.
Has there been a problem? Has anyone complained about it?
No, he just wants to look better.
Well, who's to
It's
say
a
that
better
doesn't
image.
look good now?
Well, he says. And I
Where's
might,
he?
or I
He's
don't
on the
know.
bottom.
Hmm?
He's on the bottom. All 4 of us are up above him on my screen.
Oh, well, but I'm up on the top on my screen.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Well, stop.
Does that make a difference?
I
Placement of where you're on the screen?
I wouldn't mind. Well, I don't mind what the bug or the symbol shows up in a lot of places. not just on the screen you're talking about. The right thing to do if you want to actually really look good is to have a professional work on it for you. Where we find the professional, I'm not sure, but that's the way I think, yeah, Bob.
So,
Oh, I lost the chairmanship.
Yeah, apparently. See, I think I should be back in charge.
You got it.
No, he doesn't.
the photograph that I was gonna say Corson references is a photograph that I believe Mr. Berger took, and it was provided to Wendy Watkins when she worked at the Grafton News, who took the photograph and then posterized it, which is why it looks the way it looks now. So it's an original photograph from the Berger collection that was turned into a piece of artwork. I think that I don't know what it would cost to have a professional artist come up with a graphic. I know that EDC had some success with art students at the high school creating the logo that they were using for the Grafton Celebrates the Holidays, or for Shop Grafton, Shop Local, that's what it was. So perhaps when we're talking to Dr. Cummings, we can get some information about that too.
That's a possibility, but there's knowing stuff to know that is specific to doing this kind of work, and unless your high school student is studying it, you're going to get some of Corson's complaints. But I don't,
Basically, what I'm thinking of is something that's limited to a certain number of colors. It would have the town colors, of course, green and some white, black, and maybe some yellow in there as well. But I mean, you limit to a certain number of colors that make up the entire icon, as it were. And I think it was kind of an idea to have maybe the high schoolers to look at it and say, look, this is what we have, and how we turn this into a very simple looking graphic that could be represented on the channel, and maybe they could make it a little bit of a like a contest. I don't know.
If we
That's a
do
cheap
something
way.
like that, we've got to make it clear to them that this is not something that's mandated. Because I, for one, am of the thought that if it's not broken, don't fix it. So don't let people think that this is something that's going to happen anyway. I like it like it is.
Bob, can you walk with that? Can you talk to Dr. Cummings?
we need to do this because the gazebo looks different now. You know that? Did you know
Yeah.
that, Bob B?
Yeah.
Yeah, they went back to the original design for the railings and whatnot, and people have noticed. So
Well, they had to. We
picture
had
is
this.
on a date.
We had this on the with the CPC, who was funding it,
Oh, yeah.
and and what we were told is that when they tried to use as much of the wood
Yeah.
frame as possible, so that it would be a restoration, because it's a historical pot that it's coming out of, and that it was not going to be supportive of anything. So that's why the changes are there, and that is an astute eye, Mr. Hassinger.
Oh, it's no secret. If you read all that social media, you'd have seen people, in between arguing what the correct term for the structure is, which goes on all the time. That
All right.
come up.
Let's move to. Go ahead.
Well, okay. I'd like to see what you can find out with the school.
So, Mr. Berger, do you think there's a possibility to at least consider a redesign of it, at least that much?
Oh yeah, I mean, we had the discussion. Bob's going to talk to Dr. Cummings. Maybe we're going to get some art students from the high school to give us something and for us to look at.
That
So,
sounds
yeah.
great.
Okay. So, Corson, you got item 11. Let's jump into that.
Maybe include asking if any of the teachers, staff at the school have any, particular ability to help steer students on the technical requirements or how to make it be the best it can be for this application. We might be that lucky.
Take it away, Corson.
Okay, next item, 11. The one thing which maybe I should first ask Bob Datone about this. The software for the switcher, which can control the lower 10th of the screen that goes across the bottom half of it. You know more about this than I do, as far as I'm concerned. What capabilities do we have already that you know of for having any kind of text across the bottom? I know we use it for introducing or naming individuals that are on the screen.
I don't believe the inscriber system that Billy uses to create lower thirds does the text crawl. I believe that's done by the server.
Is there anything in the text crawl that might help with closed captioning or anything of that type?
Closed captioning is closed captioning. It's two different functions.
Right. Closed captioning is a different feed that travels with the video and audio. People turn it on and off if they want it, right?
Right.
Correct.
So what are you specifically looking for?
Well, I was just looking at the notion if there was something that, as I was saying before, I don't want to keep repeating myself about it, but I keep thinking about the fact that if there was something that needed to be said or known about whatever the program was, or something that was going on that wasn't being said, that it could be, have a crawler across the screen that basically would give the information as it would appear across the screen. That's all.
Can you give me an example?
It's hard for me to give an example.
I think I know what you want, right, Bob? When you watch CNN and on the bottom of the screen, you see the crawl that talks about different news that's happening that they're not even talking about.
Well, I'm in my application, I'm thinking of something that may be related to what's on the screen itself.
But it's the same. It's the same concept.
Same concept.
I think I got it. So when Bill goes into the booth, when Bill gets ready to do either the planning board or the select board, he prints out the agenda and he creates the lower thirds so that when planning board is talking about permission not required, plot plan XYZ 7000, Bill creates a lower third for that. And again, that's why he goes in at 6 o'clock before the meeting begins, because he creates those lower thirds. He does the same thing for select board. So when they're doing agenda item new police chief or agenda item meeting with the traffic study committee, he creates those again before the meeting begins. So in real time, while he's camera switching, he just switches the camera, switches the lower third, and it goes out to the world. And so again, he's done that part of the work an hour before the event even takes place. So a crawl would be required to start in the studio, and then Bill wouldn't have any control over it. It's based on what he's currently doing now, it works better because he's done it relative to the information that's on the agenda.
And what Bill is doing was doing it prior to the broadcast because he needs to use it during the broadcast to throw something up there, as opposed to the crawler idea. You can't just quickly put something out there with a crawler. Although a crawler could be used in post-production. In other words, when you have something that's already in the can and you want to do some editing or other things, that you could probably in software add a crawler that went across in something like that with the Video Pro applications, things like that. It probably is done post production
and doesn't require any additional equipment. I think the big problem would be that Bill's got everything he can do, or should have everything he can do already.
Okay.
And there's essentially an editorial issue of recognizing there's something that needs to be said and then getting it formulated and so on. And one person can only do 3 or 4 people's job.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah, because I think in post-production, nobody wants a 2-day-old loaf of bread. I think it ages really quickly when you put it in post-production. So, and as Bob H. just said, when Bill does the work prior to the beginning of the meeting, we want him looking out the window at the meeting, not distracted at something else.
Agreed. Okay.
Excellent.
Fine.
Well, I'm glad you had the discussion. All right, gentlemen, our next meeting is going to be Monday, December 19th. Do we have any problems with December 19th?
Checking.
Okay,
I think I already looked and was okay,
okay.
but hang on.
First day of Hanukkah. Hey, okay.
Here you go. We'll light candles.
December 19th.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I think I can do that.
okay.
But Bob, I did ask you, I sent a message that had 2 things. One was about address lists for mail, but the other thing was about the affordable, was it affordable housing? The Affordable Housing Committee meeting had quite a mess, it seems, with I guess the Zoom and going out on all the places it was going out.
That was in we could hear that under another item, but okay, Bob DeToma,
The Affordable Housing Trust took place in room A, but it did not go out live. It went out strictly on Zoom. So whatever complaints were coming in about audio are simply Zoom related.
No, this was like the meeting was having trouble because something, I don't know, there was quite a fuss.
I know what you're talking about. Bill said that, like many committees, they were having trouble with their Zoom link to get the meeting started.
So it wasn't on anything to do with us.
So the only part that we were involved in was that the same link, every committee does a Zoom meeting, sends us a link so that we can control the meeting.
Right.
The link that was A, Bill didn't get a link early enough. B, when he did get it, it wasn't working. C, and it went on from there. So it was all directly related to Zoom link.
Whose hands does that link go through?
Does Affordable Housing Trust fall under planning?
I don't know.
It used to. It used to.
Yeah, I think Chris McGoldrick's departure kind of threw the Zoom universe into a tizzy.
They're an entity on their own.
No, they're housing. They're also supporting housing.
But when they use a Zoom account, they go out on the planning account. So we rely
Oh,
on.
you're talking about the accounts. I thought
Yeah.
I was talking about the committee.
Yeah, I wasn't saying
All right.
that Bob runs affordable housing.
What else, Bob H?
Well, I just concerned again about the quality of what we're
Yeah,
involved with,
It wasn't our equipment. All right, so
or our procedures or our whatever.
No, we're doing a great job.
all right, so that's old business. Is there any new business out there that anybody wants to discuss?
I hope not.
I wanted to compliment Corson on how clean the room looks behind him, as to the other times when there were stacks of money there and everything.
Yes.
We thought you were.
It's getting better. It's got to get a little more crowded again when we're.
It looks great. Looks great. Good job.
All right, no more
We
new,
adjourn.
no more new business. Okay,
I move we adjourn.
there you go. Do I have a second?
Second.
There you go. Everybody in favor? Roll call. There you go. Everybody said aye. Great. Thank you, everybody, and everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.